Well, my full name is John. My middle name is Millard, and my last name is Miles. And I was born in December 10th, 1944. I was called a war baby because I was born during World War II. I was born in a farmhouse out in the middle of a cornfield just outside of a little town in Indiana called Bogstown. And that's where our family grew up, out there in the middle of nowhere. My parents were Millard, and I was named after him, and Mom's name was Wilnetta, which I'd never seen that name anywhere else ever. I had there was 5 of us siblings. I had a brother, Richard was the oldest. He was 10 years older than me, and then Penny was 8 years older than me, and Donald was 6 years older than me. And there was me, and a sister 9 years younger than me. So it's kind of like I was raised as an only child, because the others were gone. They never paid attention to me, and Cindy was too young to know anything what was going on. So I lived on the farm till I was about 12, I think. 12, 14, something like that. But it was hard work. I remember as a kid, when I was done for the day and get in bed to go to sleep, my fingers would still be numb for the vibration on the steering wheel on the tractor, because they didn't have power steering or anything like that. And you were on it from sunrise to sunset. We had cows. We had 30-some cows that we had to milk twice a day. We had 1,900 white-legged chickens that you had to gather eggs and clean them and box them and stuff. You had hay that had to be done and bales that had to be put up. And it was an old one-room schoolhouse on the property, and that's where we kept all of our wheat and our rye and our corn and stuff for made our own feed. So we would have to go over there once in a while and shovel that stuff out into this big thing and crunched it up and blew it all into the tractor. But Dad was a hard worker, and he was a carpenter by trade, and but he was a hard worker, and it wasn't easy. But I guess I was glad that I was there on the farm, because not many kids could get to experience what I experienced. Because we had 2 creeks that run through the farm and a railroad track, and I'd always go back there and walk around and find stuff, and off the trains that fell off, and spikes and things like that. Or go down to the creek and see if I could find any snakes to throw rocks at and stuff like that. I wouldn't get too close to them, but I'd throw a rock at them. But we never really had a lot of things to do. We didn't go places. Every once in a while we would go, we'd get in the car, and Dad would see it lightning way off in the distance somewhere, and he said, okay, well, we're going to drive till we see the lightning, see rain, Well, Lord, that took forever. But I remember we'd stop and buy a Coke in a bottle, which was a treat. And I would lay on the floor in the back seat and put my head on the hump, and that's where I'd go to sleep. Don't even remember getting home or anything. Mom was a very successful poet, and did a lot of writing and had a lot published and that kind of stuff. And she wrote a poem about me, or for me. Well, there was this lady that was on the local TV station, and she was an exercise lady. She would come on and do exercises. She was very attractive, very voluptuous, and I would always watch her show. Well, Mom wrote this poem and put it in the newspaper. Said, "My son has studied all year long. His grades were hard to make, but now he's home to study Debbie Drake." And I thought that was, because nobody ever wrote anything just for me, and she wrote that and published it. we would go out, Dad and I would go out in the wintertime. Had to go out in the wintertime with snow on the ground so we could track rabbits. And he would have a shotgun, and I had to go with him. And whenever he'd see a rabbit that he could shoot it and kill it, he would step on its head and pull his head off. Then he'd hand it to me, this dead rabbit. And so we would go on, and when he had one rabbit in his and I had two in mine, then we were completed and we could go back home. So, cause Mom then they would cook these rabbits and we would eat these rabbits. So that was the measure of a successful hunt when you had all these rabbits and we would go home. It wasn't easy life of being a kid. Mom divorced Dad. Dad left. Mom didn't have anything, she didn't have any skills or anything. She took ironings in. I felt that they were just struggling too much. So I left home the summer before my freshman year in high school and moved in with my best friend, Kenny. And I lived with them until I graduated from high school. And they took me in, and I owe them a lot for what they did. But
here's a good question. If you could go back to any age in your life, what age would that be and why?
I would go back to my 16 or 17-year-old ages for high school. It was one of the best times of my life. I just had a great time in high school and went to a very small school. There was only 46 kids in my class. And it's a farm community out in the middle of central Indiana where kids sometimes drove tractors to school. But it was a good time because I was very popular in high school, and I was president of this organization and president of that one. I was in the band, and I was a drum major, and it was really a good time. I had a lot of close friends, and we all did things together, go places. I didn't have a car, so I had to ride with somebody else all the time. But that was, to me, that was one of the best times of my life. Not the best, but one of the best.
Right. What kind of clubs were you a part of?
What kind of what?
What kind of clubs were you a part of?
Well, we had Key Club, which was from the Kiwanis Club for Helpers Club. I was president of the senior class. But like I said, I was drum major, so I had rank there. All kinds of clubs that were silly, that didn't make any difference in your life, but you want to be a part of it, you know. Like the class in business where I was taking typewriter lessons, you know, and things like that. If you don't remember what a typewriter was, well, look it up. So that's about it. I was a band geek. I loved music and band, and I was good at it, and played trombone. I was first chair, and I really enjoyed the band. I sang in the choir, but I was in business and typing and bookkeeping and all that kind of stuff. I wasn't a very good student. I didn't make good grades. My freshman and sophomore year, I was a D average. And I said, this is no good. This is going to look bad on your report cards, you know. So I started doing better. My last 2 years, I had a B average. So with those two, I ended up overall with the C average, which wasn't too bad. So. It was my turn to come up on the draft board. I called the draft board, our local draft board, and I was number 3, I think, in line, meaning that I was going to be drafted pretty quick. And all the draftees then were going straight to Vietnam. So my sister was married to a administrative assistant to a congressman in our local district there, and he pulled some strings, And because at that time the National Guard was full, he pulled some strings and got me in the National Guard. So that way I didn't have to go to Vietnam. I was in Indiana Army National Guard. I left for boot camp on Valentine's Day in 1965. Went to Fort Knox, went through a boot camp, and I was learning to be a fire control instrument technician. And my responsibility was to maintain anything that was had firing ammunition on it. It was to maintain it and keep it new and up to date and adjusted properly and all that kind of stuff. It was a critical, what they call a MOS, Military Occupational Service. And because Vietnam was going then, and after the school was over, they wanted to, since I was a critical MOS, they wanted to activate me right there. But they couldn't, that was my choice. I said, no, I don't want to go to Vietnam. So I got done with all my school and everything. She sent me back to Indianapolis. I was in the headquarters in Company A, 738th Maintenance Battalion, 38th Infantry Division. That's the unit I was attached to. And I stayed in that unit until I got out in 71. But the Army was an interesting place. You got to do things that you normally wouldn't get to do, like throwing hand grenades and shooting rifles and all that kind of stuff. Well, when I became a father, we were living in Indiana. We had bought our home. We bought a home on an acre of ground. And so then we decided we wanted to start having children. Well, we tried, and we tried, and we tried. Boom, she got pregnant. And there she was. And it was exciting.
Who was she?
This girl right over here.
Yeah, but the video doesn't know who you're pointing at.
That's my daughter, Krista, the firstborn. And it was exciting. It was like any time you're dealing with the kids, you're going to have problems, have good things and bad things. But then Krista got a couple years old and we decided, let's have another one. Well, everything was still working good with everybody, so boom, here comes Jeremy in September. And I really liked being a dad, and I really liked this, But my two kids, I love my two kids, and they're very special to me. And especially Jeremy now is with us, and we just so excited with him, and he's doing really well. And I've always been so proud of Krista and what she does. And I love you guys. I'm going to start crying if we don't quit. The turning point in my life was the night I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. Because I was an alcoholic. I had stuff to deal with. I didn't know I was dealing with it or have to deal with it. And I knew if things didn't change, that it was going to be not good, So, and this kind of happened out of the blue, and made a big change in my life, and it's probably the best thing that happened to me. I was single at the time, and I was seeing this lady, and we were at her house. She had just become a Christian, and she said, "Well, I've got this record." And I said, it's a preaching record. I said, "Oh, okay." Well, she put it on her thing. We listened to it one side, then stopped and talked a little bit about it, and turned it over and played the other side, and it got done. And at the end, they have what's called the sinner's prayer, where when you pray the sinner's prayer, you pray that the Lord will forgive you your sins, and all the stuff that goes with it, and I immediately felt a change in my life. It's like I felt a giant weight lifted off of my shoulders. And he immediately took away my desire to drink alcohol. He took my desire to cuss. And I said, well, what about all the others? And they said, God said, well, you got to take care of that, So, but that made some big changes in my life, and they were real, and it happened. And I know when I met Kathy, she was just totally different from all the other women I had dated, and it's probably the best thing that happened to me, next to Jesus. So, and I wasn't afraid of religion because it's a relationship. It's not religion. I was single at the time, and
I hope so.
we have had in Victoria there a local Christian radio station that played contemporary Christian music. And once a month they would send flyers out to the people around who responded to, they send flyers about the company, about the radio station. And it was that one time every month they always had food, pizza, and I thought, well, if you have a single guy and pizza, man, that's where I need to be. So I went over and was helping them fold the things, and I'm sitting at a table and chairs, and Kathy walks in. And she sits down, the only empty chair was right next to me. And she sat down next to me. And we got to talking, blah, 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 how it is. And I asked her out. And we went out. We were going to go one place. Where did we go our first date?
Sonic.
To Sonic. Yeah, that's right.
Hot dog.
Yeah. Well, we
Well,
went.
you asked me to come over and watch you. You're in your garage, make that stuff you're making.
Yeah, I was making stuff out in the garage. We dated for about 6 months, and then we were engaged for about a year. And I had never done that before. I mean, boom, wham, bam, let's go. We're married. Get out here. Let's go. And that just didn't happen with her. It was different. So I knew it had to be God telling me that she's the one.
What was the first gift you gave me?
And a gift I gave her, she was a craft person as she is now, and I had showed her some of these bar seat clamps that I had, and she really liked them. So I gave her a present of an assortment of wood clamps, and it wasn't very romantic, but it was.
It was the best gift I'd ever received.
Bible says don't get all your arguments and everything settled before you go to bed. So you wake up in the morning with a fresh life, and you don't have all that stuff you have to still deal with. And we've dealt with stuff. We don't have a perfect marriage by any. But one thing that we always know every time that Kathy and I get together, we always know that God means for us to be married. Period.
But what's the one thing you still want to do or with your life?
I want to go to the moon. No, I think I just want to, make sure we're healthy and we watch out for ourselves and watch out for each other. And, well, I feel good and bad. I feel good because I think I have pretty good genes. Mom was 100 when she died.
Mm-hmm.
Dad was 94 when he died. I really have good health. I feel good. We go work out a couple times a week. I think when I had my cancer surgery and that was over and I got through that, I remember thinking that, you never know what could happen. Nobody knows he got cancer until it's too late, it seems like. And I just, I think, and more so just here lately, you never know. We've had so many friends die. And my age, I'll be 79 this year. And it's just, you gotta enjoy life. You gotta love your people that you have. And you just can't give up on situations. And can't always say no. But you just never know. That's why I feel good about, I've got my ticket and I'm ready to go. I mean, if something happens, I'm ready to go. Not that I want to go, but I'm ready to go.